Marco Polo once said, "I have not told half of what I saw." Trade routes have always shaped power. Today, a Eurasian corridor gains strategic weight. Rail links expand, ports grow, energy and digital networks converge. What was once an alternative route is becoming a strategic backbone. This corridor is not only about transport, it is about resilience. Can connectivity stabilize an era of fragmentation? Welcome to the panel, Middle Corridor and Eurasian Connection Gateway.
Well, thank you for being with us during this panel. We are talking about Middle Corridor, which is strategically thinking one of the most infrastructural geopolitical project in the world nowadays, because that corridor is connecting Europe, Central Asia, and China. In the context of the war and the clashes and the disputes we are facing with, that corridor is one of the most important bridge. That corridor is connecting cultures. That corridor is providing better conditions for economical development. We have a really very interesting group of the people that are participating on this panel, and I would like to start with Mr. Abdulaziz Kamilov, advisor of the President of Uzbekistan, Mr. Mirziyoyev, on foreign policy. Please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, excellencies. This is the first time Uzbek delegation is participating at this Global Baku Forum. And I'm deeply grateful to the Nizami Ganjevi Center for inviting us to take part in this forum. And before that, we had the conference together with Center in Tashkent, and also had close cooperation during the Munich Security Conference. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I'd like to thank the government of Azerbaijan for our cooperation. And we have now very dynamic development of bilateral relations. And it was a historical meeting when Azerbaijan joined the Central Asian community, and President Aliyev took part in the summit of Central Asian leaders and Azerbaijan. And we think that it was a very historical event. Why? Because we discussed many strategically important issues, how to connect two big regions, Central Asia and South Caucasus, and begin to create new geopolitical and geoeconomic space to strengthen connectivity between the two regions. And we think this is important from the point of the development of our economic cooperation, to develop trade and our cooperation in energy area, to strengthen our humanitarian ties. And we think it might be also interesting for Europe to create new energy and transport corridors from Central Asia to South Caucasus, to Turkey, and to Europe. And at present, unique opportunities are opening up before us. I mean, coming back to the relationship between Azerbaijan, Central Asia, and Uzbekistan. For a long time, the potential of connectivity between Central Asia and South Caucasus was constrained by historical inertia and accumulated contradictions. Today, the situation has changed fundamentally. Trust, open dialogue, and collective responsibility for the future of the region has shaped a new culture of relations in Central Asia, first of all. And just 2 words about the situation in our region, Central Asia. Thanks to peace-building efforts of the President of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, and the sincere support of his policy from the states of the region, Central Asia has transformed into an indivisible space of security and joint development. Peace has become our common long-term investment, already yielding dividends. In recent years, inter-regional trade in Central Asia has doubled, and mutual investment have increased 5-fold. Positive processes are also taking place in the South Caucasus. We welcome the restoration of Azerbaijan's territorial integrity and the peace agreement between Azerbaijan and Armenia. A stable South Caucasus represents a strategic gain for the whole of Eurasia. It creates fundamentally new conditions for linking the economic infrastructure and transit capacities of our regions. The President of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, was among the first leaders to recognize the potential of such replacement. His initiative to invite the President of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, to participate in the format of the consultative meetings of the heads of states of Central Asia became, as I told, a historic step toward a new stage of interregional connectivity. We regard Azerbaijan as an organic part of the region. We are united by shared historical heritage and a long-term vision of our common future. Azerbaijan's accession to the Central Asian community opens up broad opportunities for the formation of common geopolitical and economic space with the South Caucasus. Of particular interest is the opening of new transport and energy corridors capable of connecting Central Asia and South Asia. And Azerbaijan, we're sure that could play a key role in the implementation of such projects. Dear colleagues, today, no single domestic market alone possesses all the capacities required to ensure a competitive economy. In this regard, the issue of establishing reliable infrastructure for cooperation comes to the fore. A key instrument in this respect is the Middle Corridor, as a strategic route linking China and the countries of Central Asia with Caucasus, Turkey, and Europe. We fully share the assessment of the importance of the Middle Corridor for the development of international cooperation, which was emphasized by the President of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, in his speech yesterday at our forum. For the state of Central Asia, the Middle Corridor is an important factor of economic resilience and a key to full integration into global value chains. Uzbekistan attaches paramount importance to its development and considers it as a cornerstone of the national transport strategy. Over the past 5 years, the volume of our shipments through the Middle Corridor has doubled and exceeded 1 million tons. A 5-fold increase of transport volume over 3 years demonstrates structural transformation of the entire geography of trade. We also see significant potential of linking the Middle Corridor with the China-Kyrgyzstan-Uzbekistan Railway Project and the Trans-Afghan route. Special note should be made of the strategic importance of developing the Zangezur Corridor as a vital transport artery of Eurasia, with the potential to become part of the broader logistic networks between Europe and South Caucasus and Central Asia. Uzbekistan was among the first countries at a high political level to publicly supported the opening of the Zangezur corridor. Our country advocates for building a multi-route system of transport corridors, viewing this not only as a key factor in ensuring security, but also as a strategic condition for enhancing the competitiveness of our economies. We are convinced that by ensuring the interconnection of these directions, we will be able to form a multi-level diversified systems, main transport routes covering the space from, from East Asia to the Middle East and Europe. Through such integration, the Middle Corridor can acquire a new functional dimension. Ultimately, all stakeholders stand to benefit: investors, producers, and consumers. Taken together, this will make it positive to create conditions for balanced integration into the global economy, access to new markets, and ultimately serves as the foundation for the strategic autonomy of our regions and factor of Eurasian sustainability. In this regard, we consider it necessary to establish unified, transparent, and digitalized transit mechanism within the framework of the Middle Corridor, facilitate the institutional integration of Azerbaijan into the regional formats of Central Asia, create a permanent platform for expert dialogue by holding an annual international conference on connectivity between Central Asia and South Caucasus. Today we are speaking not only about transport routes, we are speaking about shaping a new space of responsibility where Central Asia and South Caucasus become not the periphery of regional process, but their active architects. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Mr. Kamilov. Thank you for your thoughts, and we have to remind ourselves that Uzbekistan is one of the key countries on that corridor. 38 million people, even more, very young population. Strategically, crucially important reforms Uzbekistan is implementing are incredible. I think President Mirziyoyev and his team are doing a great job right now. And I would like to underline strategic partnership between Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan. In that context, this is very important. Without such lines, such understanding, we are not going to have a successful middle corridor. I would like to ask Jomart Otobayev, who is writing one of the best books in terms of Central Asia, to bring to us his perspective. But also, I made a mistake. I didn't say at the beginning that we have approximately 6 minutes for every participant because we have a limited time. Jomart, floor is yours.
Thank you, Boris. I cannot stop myself from saying good words to organizers. The fact that everybody wanted to go back to Baku is not only outstanding quality of participants and speakers, but you succeeded to create a family atmosphere. So congratulations to organizers and especially Secretariat led by Rushan Muradov. I'm really proud that my Azerbaijani brothers create such product, which will be last for many, many years to come. In order to save time, I ask our technical team to show one slide, which will demonstrate what Middle Corridor is. One slide. Should be. This is interesting slide. It shows that what companies connecting Japan, China, Southeast Asia, India to Europe. This is how those airlines flying with incredibly narrow corridor, which is Azerbaijan and Georgia. This is Middle Corridor. Because of political development, this phenomenon become outstanding. And this is why a role of Azerbaijan to securing connectivity between Asia and Europe become critical. Yes, the driving force behind Middle Corridor project is China-Europe trade, enormous trade, partly because railway trade became even cheaper than sea delivery because of the development on the Red Sea. So this time, logisticians move all the way down through the South Africa to deliver goods between China and Europe. And on the contrary, the railway become cheap, efficient, and quick. So last year, China-Europe connectivity brought the turnover of around $70 billion. With that, Northern Corridor, which linked China and Europe via Russia and Belarus, a little bit losing the market share, still dominant, about 90% of the traffic, because Middle Corridor showing tremendous growth. First half of last year, the traffic, container traffic through Middle Corridors increased by 93%. Why? Because all countries around the corridor communicating efficiently in building both hard and soft infrastructure. The last point is very critical. So we communicate, especially Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, Georgia, with creating harmonious regulatory environment. The trains moving through the borders, through the customs borders freely. This event will be continued. All in all, this corridor have already received around $40 billion of investments, still to be continued. The bottleneck of this delivery, everybody must understand, this is Caspian Sea crossing. Still, this is a bottleneck. It's something like $5,000 required additional payment for crossing Caspian Sea. And we have to think on how to avoid this bottleneck, and there are some ideas how to do it. So Central Asia, South Caucasus becoming not landlocked, but land-linked areas. That is why we're really prioritizing this. And as Mr. Kamilov said, China, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan railway, which started to build last year, will shorten distance for another 900 kilometers. So the shortest distance between Europe and China. And we believe it will be giving more speed, more reliability for delivery. Between Chongqing in China and Duisburg, we will get goods in 12 days, which is important because quality of goods which deliver is high. You need speed for making insurance premium lower and to deliver things quicker. That is why we're really getting closer between Central Asia and South Caucasus, between China and Turkey, further to Europe. So really, we committed capital, we committed our brains, knowledge, to make this middle corridor the best possible way for delivering goods in the future. Thank you.
Jomart. Thank you, Jomart. The map you showed to us is crystal clear evidence that we are talking about kind of neurons. This is a connection like in the brain. We are reminding ourselves that we have one continent. This is Eurasia. By doing that, working on middle corridor, southern and northern previously, we are creating the best network of neurons between two continents and the people living on, let's say, two different continents, but in fact, one continent. Right now, I would like to ask Anna Birchall, who is coming from Romania, to bring to us perspective from, let's say, Europe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I should say that I am incredibly happy and honored to see you all today in Baku, as we meet today at a moment when the international order is shifting beneath our feet. This is not just another year in global affairs. It is a geopolitical turning point, a moment when stability can no longer be assumed, when alliances are being tested, when institutions are strained. That's why the Caucasus and Central Asia stand today not only at the crossroads of continents, but also at the crossroads of history. These regions are no longer seen merely as transit corridors for energy or trade, as we've been discussing in the past. They have become, in my view, strategically pivots whose political choices, security architectures, and economic resilience will shape not only their own future, but also the balance of power from Europe to Asia. Azerbaijan, under the leadership of President Aliyev, has been the indispensable anchor of this middle corridor. President Aliyev's long-term strategic vision, combined with years of sustained investment, modernization, and diplomatic wisdom and balance, has transformed this corridor from a concept to an operational, credible Euro-Asia route, as you are saying, Mr. President. Azerbaijan has demonstrated the unique ability to act as a connector between regions, markets, and culture. And I do remember with great pride and honor from my early discussions with President Aliyev in 2018, when he articulated a clear and an ambitious vision. The middle corridor is not just an infrastructural option, it is the country's central priority for regional and global connectivity. And as we can see today, he was right, and he did it. As this vision responds directly to the realities of our decades. The shocks of recent years reconfirm that transport resilience is national resilience. They validated the need for secure alternative corridors, and they unlock the opportunity for this region to play a far greater role in global supply and value chain. And the numbers speak loudly. The transit volume of the middle corridor increased by 150% in a single year. Goods that once took 45 days to travel from Asia to Europe now do so in 20 days. And this is not just about speed. It is about strategic relevance, and that's why the Trump route of international peace and prosperity is another step towards strengthening East and West dynamics. Its 42-kilometer segment will provide a valuable alternative pathway, increasing turnover and expanding the corridor's appeal for both public and private stakeholders. So in today's environment, the middle corridor must be more than an infrastructure map. It must be a stabilizing axis. It is far more than an infrastructure project. It is a strategic instrument of stability, diversification, and independence. So Romania, as both Black Sea and European Union country, shares this vision. Romania is an active, and it's been an active bridge between the South Caucasus, Central Asia, and the Euro-Atlantic community. Our geography gives us proximity, but our shared values give us purpose. So, without too many words, I can say that Romania understands perhaps better than many that energy security, it is national security, and that stabilizing the Caucasus and Central Asia is essentially to the security and prosperity of the entire European continent. So that's why Romania has consistently supported dialogue, regional cooperation and connectivity projects that unite, not divide, our neighborhoods. So this is why I argue that this corridor should be treated as a strategic package, transport, energy, and digital, supported by European instruments that can actually deliver at speed and scale with bankable pipelines and reduce cost of capital. Because yes, we do have investment coming in, but I think the European Union, for example, and other funds should be coming in as well. Because my strategic takeaway is that the middle corridor and global gateway should reinforce a broader European strategy, de-risking without decoupling, engagement without naivety, and connectivity that increases European strategic autonomy, consolidates stability in the wider Black Sea-Caspian region, and locks in a rule-based connectivity ecosystem resilient to both geopolitical shocks and commercial vulnerability. At the same time, if I may say, the world is witnessing a fundamental redefinition of connectivity. Pipelines, digital corridors, transport routes, all those are critical, obviously. But the most powerful form of connectivity remains the connectivity of trust, if I may say. Trust in the governance, trust in the rule of law, in reliable partnerships built on mutual respect and rather than dependency. Because without governance that delivers fairness, justice, and predictability, no infrastructure in the world can sustain peace or prosperity for long. So, in my own experience from my time in office, I learned that credibility and accountability are the real foundations of strategic partnerships. So values are not an accessory for foreign policy. They are its strongest pillar, and we should not forget that, the values. Because as global governance fragments and great power rivalities intensify, our collective challenge is to turn uncertainty into opportunity. And we must work together to build a connectivity network that is not just physical, but strategic. An energy architecture that is not just diversified, but sustained. And a regional order that is not just pragmatic, but principled as well. Because history reminds us that moments of transition test both the strength of our alliances and the clarity of our vision. And we should not lose sight of that. Because today, as the world looks to the region like the Caucasus and Central Asia, not as a distant frontiers, but a central peril in new and more balanced global order. So in conclusion, let us approach this turning point not with fear, but with clarity and purpose, to move from reaction to strategy, from dependence to resilience, and from fragmentation to trust. Because, let us ensure that the bridges we built from Baku to Bucharest, from Caspian to the Black Sea, are beyond bridges, are bridges of stability and prosperity, because in every shifting ground, there is the possibility of a stronger foundation, one built not on rivalities, but on respect, on responsibility, shared vision, and obviously on courage, the courage to do the right thing. So in the end, let me join my friends in thanking President Aliyev and Azerbaijan for again hosting us with grace in this beautiful city that is changing every single day. And I am honored beyond words to be here today. And thank you, NGIC, for again putting together an amazing forum. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anna. I would like to ask once again all participants to think about 6 minutes, otherwise we are not going to have enough time, even for the first presentation, and after that for maybe Q&A. Right now, I would like to ask Tkeshelashvili, Deputy Prime Minister of Georgia, to take the floor. Right.
Thank you, Boris. I mean, we are trying to get better in South Caucasus in being predictable, stable, but last names, at least for my country, are becoming still, remain to be problematic, right, for our friends elsewhere. Now, I'll try to shift our focus perhaps more on the strategic context, which has been already dealt with and pinpointed by the speakers, and not to concentrate perhaps on figures and in the growth and increase of the importance of Middle Corridor, as has already been mentioned to the audience by my previous, by the previous speakers of the panel discussion. I think what we need to realize when we speak about the Middle Corridor is that it is way more than a corridor of connectivity. And it's even more than Eurasia per se, I would claim, when it comes to connection of the continent between European and Asian side of it, but has a very global relevance in terms of what is the precedent that is being created right now when it comes to this region and its profound transformation. It's not a distant past when one would think about this region as a periphery of the big powers, of big empires, troubled with conflicts, economic problems, and that would have been the vision that anybody would have, being unaware perhaps of the complexity of the developments even back then in this region. But now, even in the big capitals like Washington, D.C., or the Brussels in Europe, and then not only, when we talk about Central Asia, when we speak about Caucasus and connectivity of Trans-Caspian region within the realm of the Black Sea region as well, this resonates with an understanding that the region is on the right track. It's becoming an area, rare area of strength and stability, growing economic prosperity, reliable connectivity, reach out to the global partners with that perspective of being a reliable strategic partner, and bearing with it an enthusiasm of potential for better development even further, rather than having questions that are critical, resembling the questions of a doomsday scenario when we speak about many parts of the world today. So it is a region that brings that feel of hope and optimism to the future. But when we talk about that, we cannot take it for granted. We need to ask the question, why is it that it is happening in this region and we don't see maybe similar developments in other regions? There are, of course, factors when it comes to the external variables that has contributed to that, but then profoundly, this positive development is a result of very deliberate and strategic action of local leadership. Leadership of the countries that have bared the role of the engine for the development of the region in this regard. Here we are in Baku, Azerbaijan, and then role of the President Aliyev cannot be overestimated in this regard. It has been profound in terms of leading this process of bridging Caspian and then Caucasus together as a region. But then the leadership from the Central Asian countries cannot be underestimated as well, obviously, because it's profound vision of linking the area in the way that now we already have C5+1 turning into C6, when Azerbaijan is seen and embraced as part of Caspian region, and a trans-Caspian sort of vision of that is a strategic pivotal moment of the regional development for that. So what we see now in this part of the world, in Central Asian and then Caucasus, the way we can describe it like trans-Caspian in so many ways, is that the region has reclaimed its agency. It's not derivative anymore from any external power. It has strengthened its capacity and strategic capacity to negotiate anything related to the region on its own terms. And it's very important because it's a reclaimed power and sovereignty that the region has through deepened strategic cooperation and alliance among the members of the region. And it is extremely important that what we see with that in the region is a new example of how, through regional cooperation, a new notion of regional middle power could emerge, which doesn't rest with any single member, perhaps, of that regional cooperation, but allows the region to become a middle power, strong enough, sovereign enough, and autonomous in its not only decision-making processes, but projection of its strategic positioning in the way that could bring that authority and muscle power, so to say, in geopolitical terms, globally, and not just within the connectivity of the East and West perspective of that. And that's a profound transformation that even a few years ago, we wouldn't have been that confident, perhaps, that could come so profoundly in the region and accepted by the big powers of the world as well. So in this regard, it's something that brings hope, that when we speak about fragmented world, there is this possibility of creating different dynamics of multilateral cooperations that could contribute to the overall strengthening of multilateralism in a way that we don't see world clustered, but rather breached, so that the region that once was seen as a periphery is already accepted as an essential bridge between regions, continents, and then globally important example of creating that connectivity in a stable and uninterrupted way. And as it has been already mentioned, we are at a time in Baku now when it could not have been more vivid. Even the level of flights that are rerouted over the Azerbaijan brings the importance of that connectivity even more vivid than it could have been prior to that. One example is a small, not an anecdote in terms of the concrete example, but the precedent of how locally driven initiatives and leadership politically contributed to that even goes beyond what we experience now. I remember when Baku-Ceyhan pipeline was being negotiated. It was a poor result at that time of the local leadership of the two presidents at that time, primarily Azerbaijan and Georgia. External powers, United States, Europe, even Russia after that, came to the process much later when they understood that the local leadership pulled it off, and it was already happening as a reality to that. That's when we had the United States coming in as an interested partner. We've had European partners being interested, and at some point even Russia asked to have its own energy being transited through the pipeline, which was very curious at the time. But this was an example when some talk about the developments of that time, they think as if external powers pushed it, helped it to happen. They came at a time when the local leadership already proved that it was a possibility in a sustainable way. And while engagement of President Trump in the peace process between Azerbaijan and Armenia was an important engagement at the time when the documents have been signed, and TRIP is an excellent example how economic project and connectivity project could solidify the results of that. We have to be honest that when it comes to the major achievement of trust being brokered between the parties was when Azerbaijan and Armenia started to communicate and negotiate bilaterally without any mediators at the time. And that's how peace negotiated through political process became a reality here. And I'll stop with few challenges that we still see in the region that could be important to identify, not profound challenges, but something that is more technical but could lead even to increase the importance of middle corridor, which is at the center of this profound transformation, is standardization of regulations, practices, and then digital component of that as well within the region, so that reliability that is already established and credibility of the corridor is coupled with far-reaching efficiency and pricing that consolidates even further and encourages the growth and scalability of the projects that are related to transit of energy, creating the digital corridors as well, and then trade and connectivity through the region as well. And at the end, I'm very pleased to mention that it's not just about investments in the region that are growing, and it's extremely important, but we see that countries from the region are becoming important investors outside as well. And that's a testament to, again, strategic positioning of the region and countries in this region, when it's not only a consumption and growth of economic projects and infrastructure projects through foreign investments that are happening here, but countries from the region are contributing already to economic growth and connectivity outside of this region as well, by being reliable, credible, and strategic investors in the regions and the countries where it matters most. I'll end at that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Eka, for your thoughts. I would like to ask Mr. Binali Yildirim, former Prime Minister of Turkey, and also a man who is right now working in an organization of Turkish states, to bring his experience, because a lot of Turkish states are in the middle corridor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, we are discussing a very important issue, middle corridor. Why it is important? Because, you know, around the corridor, we have war and conflict, unrest situation. So for safe transport of goods and commodities are becoming more essential. From Asia to Europe, when we look at the transport corridors or alternatives. Currently, about 90% of transport still carried out by sea. And the other alternatives are North Corridor and Middle Corridor, South Corridors. The trade between Europe and Asia around 3 trillion dollars, which is a huge amount of trade volume. So the share of Middle Corridor still so small. It was a couple of years before less than 1 million tons, and today we have 5 million tons per year. But the potential is much bigger than this. Easily, we can reach 20 million tons per year. In order to reach this, we need to do something. Time-wise, if you compare the corridors, the shortest one, it is about, if everything goes well, 12 days, not more than 15 days. Although the sea transport is around 40, 50 days, now time is money. That's why we need to promote, develop Middle Corridor in order to secure global and regional trade for East and West. Actually, during previous years, we have done a lot promoting this corridor together with Azerbaijan, Mr. Janab President Aliyev, and that time President of Georgia and President Erdogan of Turkey. We decided to construct Baku-Tbilisi-Kars railway project. With this railway project, we completed missing link between Anatolian land to the Caspian basin. This was a very important project, although it took more than 10 years discussion to carry out project was much more than constructing project. We discuss, we talk again, 6 years, and the other 4 years completing project. I was that time Minister of Transport. I remember many times in Georgia, in Azerbaijan, in Turkey. We come together and discuss. The second important project for resilience and security of energy is TANAP project. This was also carried out by these 3 countries. And now the TANAP is extended to Europe TAP project, which provides security of energy, security of gas. Now, this corridor, although a lot of advantage it has, but the problem is number of countries border crossing creates some problem, as Eka mentioned about it. If you have a lot of border crossing, a lot of different bureaucracy, different procedure. So this means the cost and time losing. That's why we decided as organization of Turkic state to look at the corridor. Where is the bottleneck? How can be done to speed up processes and also reduce the traveling time. Actually, in most important bottleneck of corridor is Caspian Sea passage. For improving this sea passage, now Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, and some part Turkmenistan decided to increase the capacity of ferry boat so that the time of passing will be reduced, reasonable level, and also the Kazakhstan infrastructure are being developed year by year, and also, as earlier one of speakers mentioned, railway connection from China to Uzbekistan to Kyrgyzstan also helps promoting the corridor. So the midterm, our aim to increase the use of corridor double, which means about 10 million tons per year. And also, regarding this corridor is not only transport corridor. This corridor carries cultures, carries civilization. This is, through the ages, this corridor serves as Silk Road, which is a long way. In this corridor, many different civilizations exist, and from Far East to Europe, this corridor very good used in the time span. Well, in terms of Anatolian connection, as well as further to Europe, Southeastern Europe, even Western Europe, we have done also there's some critical project. For example, Bosphor crossing, for Bosphor crossing with rail, we constructed Marmaray, which is under Bosphorus. This is also part of this corridor from Anatolian to Europe. On the other words, from Asia to Europe. And also, recently we constructed bridge north of Bosphorus, Yavuz Sultan Selim Bridge, which also include rail connection, road and rail. So these two big projects providing continuity of the middle corridor from Asia to Europe. So the corridor is now really becoming more and more popular. For example, the Red Sea, we have Suez Canal, we have Bab el-Mandeb around Yemen, which is anytime can be trouble. Hormuz, as we know, more recently, it is closed and is not used for energy transportation and other transportation. All this kind unexpected, the situation which we cannot predict. This corridor, middle corridor, provide safer and reliable, resilient transport route between Asia and Europe. And also, I should add that Zengezur corridor is the part of this connection, a bit south of this Caucasia. You know, the difference is direct connection between Asia through Nakhchivan and Azerbaijan. So this is not a separate corridor. It is a part of middle corridor which will support and to provide increase of the use of corridor. Ladies and gentlemen, as I told, this corridor do not only carry goods, also carry stability, prosperity, and peace in region and globally. For this reason, Middle Corridor, not only transportation project, it is also important part of broader vision for regional stability and shared responsibility. Turkey, the member of OTC, will continue to support this vision and contribute strengthening connectivity across Eurasia. Because we believe that in 21st century, the strength of nations will be measured not only by resources they possess, but also by the connection they build. The security and continuity of trade routes are not only responsibility of a few countries alone, but shared responsibility of the entire global economy. Strengthening the middle corridor is an important part of fulfilling this shared responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Prime Minister, for reminding ourselves that this is not only about railway, highway, and a maritime corridor, but also pipeline energy projects. Trans-Adriatic and Trans-Anatolian pipelines are also part of this corridor. In that respect, we are coming to Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan is a key country. Azerbaijan is on the crossroad. Azerbaijan is a country which is in the middle. Many people are saying that Azerbaijan is a new Singapore of this corridor, having a lot of opportunities for development, but also kind of duties. The missing link on this corridor regarding Azerbaijan and role of Azerbaijan is a railway between Rasht and Astara, from Iran to Azerbaijan, that can connect Russia, Iran, North Sea, and also Indian Ocean. This is also very important to think about connections between oceans and also countries that are on this corridor. This is why I'm asking right now Mr. Shahmar Movsumov, Assistant to the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan and Head of the Department of Economic Issues and Innovative Development Policy, to take the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. First of all, as a representative of the government of Azerbaijan, I would like to say warm welcome once again and to say how important and how appreciative we are that despite all these logistical challenges, you all found the commitment and willingness to travel all the way and to be here today with us in Baku. It's very important because this forum is you. Now, thank you very much for giving me the word, and I would like to start with the importance of the corridor. You know that despite all the gloom and doom that we're hearing every day, the global trade is extremely resilient. And if you look at the numbers last year, the global trade grew about 7% and has reached a historic peak of $35 trillion. If you look at Eurasia, you see the same pattern, and just the global trade between Europe and China has been a massive $730 billion only last year. Azerbaijan is very bestowed with a great geographic bounty of being on the routes between east and west and south and north. And we try not to sit on that geography, but try to make sure that this geography is utilized as efficient as possible. Based on the long-term strategic vision of President Aliyev, Azerbaijan has been consistently developing these routes. But obviously, any cooperation, any trade, any corridors cannot be achieved without lasting peace and cooperation. From that perspective, again, last year, achieving the end of the conflict and a major historical event in the White House where President Aliyev and Prime Minister Pashinyan signed a declaration which ended a long lasting conflict in this region and provided a basis for the peace and cooperation. Despite this long-term conflict being ended, there are some challenges that we are facing. And obviously, under the leadership of the president, which yesterday already declared that again, that Azerbaijan is committed to peace and cooperation, and we will do everything possible that this region becomes a place of peace. So having settled this macro political stability in the region, Azerbaijan was consistently investing in the opportunities and building infrastructure. Azerbaijan, as you know, probably has built more than 2,700 kilometers of rail networks that are being operated now in Azerbaijan. The Baku-Tbilisi-Kars railway that was mentioned today has reached the capacity of 5 million tons per year. Port of Baku is becoming a major Caspian logistic hub. 15 million tons of cargo and 100,000 TEU of containers are being handled, are available today. And with the second phase of expansion, we're planning to bring it to 25 million tons and 500,000 TEUs. The middle corridor effectively became operational 6 years ago, back in 2019, when the first block train departed China and arrived Europe via Kazakhstan, Caspian Sea, Azerbaijan, and Türkiye, passing through the Marmaray Tunnel. The train carrying 42 containers covered roughly 11,500 kilometers in just 18 days. Now, from that one train, one block train, last year, we had 392 block trains. So that means more than a train a day. This is already showing a 37% increase compared to 2024. And in total last year, through the middle corridor, through Azerbaijan, we carried 4.7 million tons of cargo. But when we talk about corridors, corridors are not just, as it was mentioned already, corridors are not just goods. Corridors are also energy, and corridors are also digital connectivity. And energy infrastructure that has been developed, and the projects that we all know, Southern Gas Corridor, TANAP, TAP, we are supplying gas to more than to 16 countries across the world. New cable, Black Sea electricity cable project is being developed right now, and it aims to connect Azerbaijan, Georgia, Romania, and Hungary, which will enable a large-scale green electricity transmission between the Caspian region and Europe. As I said, digital connectivity is one of the modalities of the corridor, and the Trans-Caspian fiber optic cable that is being developed right now and which will provide up to 400 terabits per second of capacity linking digital networks between Asia and Europe. And the project of Zangezur corridor that has been also signed and declared in Washington in August last year is one of the diversifiers of the middle corridor. But the corridor's competitiveness requires not just infrastructure, it also requires trust and regional cooperation. And talking about trust, we should also mention the macro stability of Azerbaijani economy, with the strategic foreign exchange reserves reaching $90 billion, more than 100% of GDP, and external public debt being only about 6% of GDP, one of the lowest globally. Efficient corridors require harmonized customs procedures, synchronized infrastructure investment, and integrated digital systems. Understanding that, back in December 2025, President Aliyev signed a special decree creating a digital single window system, which will integrate procedures for import, export, transit, transport, and logistics across all countries into one single electronic platform that will be integrated with our neighbors. And by combining transport, energy, and digital infrastructure, Azerbaijan aims to become a platform connecting Central Asia and South Caucasus, Turkey, and Europe. When we measure success of corridors, we usually do it in tons, meters, kilometers, cubic meters. But I really hope that with the middle corridor continuing to increase its capacity, we will be talking and measuring it also in partnerships, in opportunities, and the stories of success and cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Movsumov. And right now we have two participants, two former ministers of foreign affairs and the people that has been running international organization, Black Sea Economic Cooperation and Shanghai Cooperation Organization. I'm asking, first of all, my friend Rashid Alimov to take a floor, and after that, my friend also, Lazar Comanescu.
Thank you, Boris. I would like to back to Central Asia. For a region without direct access to the ocean, transport connectivity is not just infrastructure. It is a strategic condition for sustainable development and economic independence. That is why Central Asia always supports initiatives that develop Eurasian transport links. Significant progress, as you know, has been achieved under Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. Over the past decade, 10 years, it has played an important role in modernizing infrastructure and expanding the region's transit capacity. At the same time, the development of the middle corridor has gained particular importance. It is becoming one of the most practical and reliable routes linking Asia and Europe through Central Asia and Caspian region. We view the European Global Gateway Initiative with great interest. We expect it to complement existing infrastructure, strengthen resilience, and bring new momentum to transport development. In recent years, Central Asia has undergone a major transformation in connectivity. Railways have been modernized, new international highways have been built, dry ports and logistic centers have been established, infrastructure along the Caspian route has expanded, digital solutions are being introduced, and border procedures are being simplified. A new geography of Eurasia is emerging.
In this geography, Central Asia is becoming a central pillar of the middle corridor and bridge between East and West, North and South. This is not just metaphor. These are tunnels built through mountain ranges. These are highways crossing thousands of kilometers of steppe. These are modern terminals rising along routes once used the historical trade caravans. Step by step, the Central Asia region is becoming a reliable bridge connecting the major markets of the continent. At the same time, connectivity must be based on predictability, resilience, and security along the entire route. A stable security and security environment is essential for long-term investment and smooth logistics. This benefits producers, carriers, and consumers alike. In Central Asia, transport initiatives are seen as complementary. Their purpose is to strengthen partnership and expand cooperation. We do not see ourselves as a only transport space only. Our goal is to develop industrial zones along transport routes, create modern logistic hubs, attract investment in processing and manufacturing, and integrate small and medium-sized business into global value chains. Because connectivity is not only about moving goods, it's about standards and technology. It's about trust between states and businesses communities. And this is very important for Central Asia. It's about jobs. More than half of our population is young. By 2050, the population of Central Asia may reach 100 million people. This means we must ensure sustainable growth, economic diversification, and real opportunities for future generations. In this context, connectivity for us is not just lines on a map. It is a shared responsibility. Central Asia can fully realize its role as a bridge between parts of Eurasia. If initiatives are coordinated, rules are transparent, and stability is ensured along both existing and future corridors. It is often said that roads reduce distance. Partnership reduces risk, and joint efforts create the future. In Central Asia, we are ready to build that future together. Thank you.
Thank you, Rashid.
Thank you.
Rashid brought to us also a voice from Tajikistan, and right now I'm asking Lazar to take the floor.
Thank you very much. And since we have already run out of time and almost everything what needed to be said has already been said, that gives me the opportunity to be as brief as possible. And I will telegraphically make 4 or 5 points. But before that, I can't help myself not saying once again how glad and how good I feel always when I'm here back in Baku. Now, with this, my 4 or 5 points. First point is that I think that it emerged also from this talk, discussion in this panel. connectivity is the lifeblood of economic development. And when we look into where the engines of growth have been developing, increasing as importance, we see that Asia is the main engine of growth of today. And for Europe to get connected with Asia is a quintessential necessity. This is point number one, which I wanted to make. Point number two would be that while this is a necessity, as I said, I may also add that for the Black Sea region and for the countries they are in, this is a, how to say, it's a happy situation where any connectivity between Europe and Asia, you want it or not, cannot but cross the Black Sea region. And that's a very important point. My third point is that, and I'm glad to see that every development related to the middle corridor answered to this necessity. And a lot of activity related to this project is also related to what is happening in the Black Sea area. My third remark is that it is extremely important when developing various connectivity initiatives or projects, they need to be considered as being part or to contribute to a network connectivity, enhancing connectivity networks. Not isolated from one project or from another, or how to say, to look at them as competing or replacing each other. It has to do, they have to be developed as part of a network of connectivities. Fourth point, it is extremely important, it is already mentioned here, that connectivity projects, initiatives, they do not need to be developed by themselves, for the sake of connectivity only. It's important how much these connectivity initiatives contribute to the development of the regions they are crossing. My fifth remark is that when it comes to implementing such initiatives, it is always important, and this is also particularly important for the Black Sea region, to take into account and build upon what has already been done or initiated by the countries in the regions or by the organizations like mine, if you don't mind. Why I'm saying that? There is a lot of work which has been done in the Black Sea region organization to develop some very important connectivity projects which will become part of the middle corridor. I remember the Black Sea Ring Highway, the motorways of the sea, and one very important aspect, we have developed, and it is only to be adopted formally, a trade facilitation strategy, which is exactly aimed at combining the development of connectivity routes and so on with facilitation of crossing borders and so on. And my final point, it is extremely important that they have to develop an appropriate correlation and coordination among the various international regional organizations which are involved in this type of activities. Look, we have, I'll take only Europe. We have the Black Sea Economic Cooperation Organization. We have the Central European initiatives. We have the Southeastern European cooperation process. All of them have placed connectivity as the center of their activity. Correlating, complementing each other would help in developing in a more, I would say, resource, efficient resource use possible this type of projects. And finally, whatever is being developed at the level of the governments, authorities, organizations, international organizations, there is no success if the entrepreneurial communities, business communities are not involved from the very beginning in devising, deciding upon, and implementing any type of projects, including projects like the Middle Corridor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lazar. Mulțumesc. You are waiting lunch, if I understand well. This is a critical moment right now. Just to conclude, we are talking about middle corridor. This is the last corridor, I mean not last, but we are building that corridor in this period of time, but two other corridors, southern and the northern, work has been building previously. But the role of the middle corridor is also to connect southern and northern corridor. And Azerbaijan has a crucial role in that respect. Azerbaijan is a centered country. But all other countries are extremely important. We didn't mention some countries, for example, Armenia. But yesterday, President Aliyev have said that Azerbaijan is going to build pipeline towards Armenia, and Armenia is going to be transit country for gas in the future. This is very important after conflict that we had in the past. And also some other countries. Zbigniew Brzezinski have said that Central Asia is a soft stomach of global security. But right now, I think the South Caucasus and Central Asia are soft stomach of global connectivity. This is final conclusion of this panel. Thank you very much for your participation.